Welcome back to hell, everyone. I mean, welcome back to the Spencer Mansion. Hell, everyone.
A mansion that has an evil resident in it.
Possibly even more.
Possibly even more.
Possibly even a neighborhood of residents within it.
That are evil.
That are indeed evil. We can confirm this.
Evil. And Krusty the Clown dolls that are sent to evil.
Oh, yeah, evil! I forgot about that Simpsons joke. That's a Simpsons joke. I'm trying to remember where that was.
Oh, because Grandpa Simpson was like...
That's right!
Yeah.
He's like...
It was Abraham Simpson.
It was the same episode. That toll is evil, I tell you. Grandpa, you said it about all the gifts. I just want attention.
That was a good joke. That was...
It just makes me think back to my favorite joke with Abe, which was the him criticizing kids and then going into the welfare office and going, "Hey, Moon, gimme, gimme, gimme." That's like my favorite. Well, not my absolute all-time favorite, but it's the one I always go to with Abe because Abe never had like a lot of great moments on The Simpsons.
I'm Grandpa.
Hi, I'm Grandpa. I used to be able to do Abe, but now I've gotten more into my Old Man Johnson. That's just what I call the voice. This is my Old Man Johnson, which was actually derived for a podcast segment and then didn't work out so much. Well, because it was I want you to ask me questions so that I can rant as an old man, and I got questions, but not nearly enough to keep the segment going. Like, I mean, one of them was, what are your real thoughts on the relationship with Bowser and Mario? And I'm just like, oh, they used to be the best of friends until that lousy dumbass Peach came along. And I just went off on like a 10-minute segment about how Peach was a harlot and how she ruined a good friendship.
Is that why Bowser's always kidnapping her?
I may have, I can't remember exactly. I'll have to look up the video segment. I may have mentioned that Bowser was actually the original Yoshi, and that Yoshi had to go in to fill the spot when their friendship fell apart.
Friendship of the heart of the cards.
Yes. Well, like, I think I went off on a rant of like, he used to actually ride Bowser, didn't you know that? And then that stupid Yoshi got brought in because Peach wanted him. I need to actually have you listen to this segment. It was ranting old man. That's why I call it the Old Man Jenkins, or Old Man Johnson, Old Man Jenkins, whatever you want to go for. Did we say welcome back to Resident Evil? Welcome back to Resident Evil, everybody.
Well, we said welcome to hell.
We did say welcome to hell.
Which is just as good.
So we're officially done with the mansion, and now we are at endgame segment, because I always consider these underground tunnels and the facility to be together. So we are officially starting up the underground tunnels with Chris, which I wish I could tell you that a whole lot changes here. Not really. You don't even get a similar segment like Jill did where Barry joins you for a little bit. Rebecca doesn't join you.
Oh, I thought Rebecca would.
Would Rebecca come back?
The sad part is that Rebecca doesn't join you again until literal endgame.
Oh, yeah.
She doesn't even show up in the facility until you're ready to confront Wesker. So this ought to tell people like how much of a minor role Rebecca had. Now here is Chris's replacement to the grenade launcher. This is what he gets that
the
Jill doesn't. The problem though is that the flamethrower is actually not just a weapon you get, but a puzzle element. So you notice, like when we went through it with Jill, those hooks were always empty.
Yeah.
When you go through here, you'll find flamethrowers with limited fuel. Obviously, you can't actually get more fuel in the game. And they will lock doors when you pick them up off that latch. So you have to be really careful about how you're going to use the flamethrowers. But it is recommended, like, use them on the hunters down here and then just get them to 0 fuel and then just put them back so you have access to the other areas. Otherwise, if you pick them up, a random door will lock and then you can't advance. It's not random, it's usually the door you need to advance. So let's go ahead and go meet with Enrico, because we remember meeting with him on Jill's end. He's not as nice to Chris. I hate to tell you guys.
Oh, he isn't?
Enrico!
Don't come any closer, Chris.
Wait, what happened?
Double crosser!
Don't!
Don't!
Hell. Umbrella.
Brown.
Who is it? Is someone there? Double crosser? What did he mean by that?
I'm pretty sure a former Marine would not hold a gun like that. Would not go, especially with one that's a flamethrower and probably is at least a little hot after being used. Oh, yes, and by the way, welcome to my personal inventory hell, because by the time I got down here, I was really hurting for inventory space. Oh, hi. That's cute. He thought he could get to me. Now, like I said, it has very limited fuel, so use it up as much as you possibly can, but after that, you're done. So there we go. I'm out. We're gonna go with the shotgun, not waste Magnum ammo. Well, that's gonna make him just so happy. Now we'll go back to the Magnum, so that we can one-shot these hunters. So yeah, that's like the major changes, where Rebecca was, where Barry was involved, like throughout the whole experience. Rebecca's only involved in a few segments here and there.
It's kind of a bummer.
Presumably because, well, she eventually got... and I actually think one of the reasons she got her own game was because people complained. Because people did want Rebecca a little bit more involved in the story, and she wasn't involved. Bye-bye. Okay, so we're out of flamethrowers, so... There you go. Will you put down the flamethrower? And then that unlocks the door. So now we could go a little bit further into the tunnels, and there actually will be a second flamethrower we can get, which will do the exact same thing. That's why I'm saying the flamethrower is more of a puzzle element than the grenade launcher was for Jill. And technically, as a former Marine, Chris should have gotten the wonderful grenade launcher just so he can nuke the crap out of this area. And no, he did not.
That's too bad.
Thanks, Capcom. But hey, now we can get the Hex Crank, which is what we need to advance. But it doesn't matter because we're out of inventory again. It's one of those things where I would almost want to put this in Alex's hands for the Chris playthrough and just see how frustrated he gets every time he runs out of inventory. Because I'm pretty sure Alex's response to most of those situations would be, dang it, I could have 2 more slots if I was playing as Jill, and I'm not. See that speechlessness of Alex? That's exactly agreeing.
Yep, it is.
I'd probably lose a controller, would I not?
Yeah.
Because you'd throw it.
I'd probably throw a controller.
Here's an interesting question that we can put to the comments section. Times you've actually wanted to murder your friend, like murder your best friend, and one of those times for me would be when they threw the controller, because I love my best friend dearly, but he has cost me, let's just say, a good portion of money. And always because he's like, dude, my controller died, can I borrow yours? I'm just like, okay, well, I have a player 2 one, and you can use that. And then literally about 3 weeks to a month later, dude, do you have another controller I can borrow? What happened to the one I let you borrow? It broke. It broke, or it broke through you throwing it around. I didn't throw it around. And at that point, I'd be like, dude, I've seen you game. You throw controllers.
Let me guess, is this Storm Shadow?
This is Storm Shadow. I won't say his name. He's asked us specifically not to say his name, but and I love him dearly. He is a good friend. He has been there with me through thick and thin, but not when it came to controllers. He's been a very bad friend in that regard. I have no problem admitting that. What about you, Alex? Have you actually had something your best friend pissed you off like horribly for?
Probably. I can't really name an example off the top of my head.
Like he didn't like borrow a DVD or something like that and then just absolutely wreck it.
Thankfully, no. Because by the time I started buying DVDs, I became a social isolator. I just became a bit of a neat.
Didn't you lend like your Pokemon Crystal and then it came back with no label attached to it?
That didn't happen to me. I don't remember. I don't think so.
I don't know. I can't remember.
Like they peeled off the label?
Yeah, like the crystal
Why?
cartridge.
No, I don't think that was me.
You got it back and it was pinball. It's like,
don't
oh, they wanted the cartridge. Okay.
No, they wanted the sticker apparently.
They wanted the sticker so they could put it on their bootleg cartridge.
Who knows?
You can't carry. No! I want the Magnum Browns. Damn it!
Well, you know where they are, and you might as well try and
I
find.
think this is
going to
be another moment that pisses me off. Yep.
Oh.
I just used my last Magnum shot on him. Ow! Screw you. What about you, Andrea? Have you had that one moment that just... Your best friend, you love them, but they pissed you off that one time?
No, I don't think I had any encounters like something like that. At least I can remember.
Oh, come on. I love my friends, but they're friends, and they try their hardest, but they don't treat everything properly.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be called so mean in the comments, like, you just hate your best friend. No, I don't. I do hate the fact that he caused a major sink on my wallet, because a lot of my controller replacements happened between him and my little brother, because both of them were controller throwers.
Yeah.
And on top of that, my little brother, love him dearly, but he was in his phase of, he didn't see a reason to wash his hands, and so you could tell which controller was his because it was caked in Cheeto cheese and Dorito cheese and all that. I don't know why I just tried to use the flamethrower on the spider, because it's not going to work.
Could just cut through the webs and get out.
I don't actually think I don't think it'll let me.
It will.
First of all, I don't have a knife.
You can... Yeah.
There is a spare knife in the room, but you'd have to avoid this guy to get it.
Yeah.
And
I think
again,
you
you'd
could-
have to have inventory.
Yeah. I think you could do it if you had grenade rounds. I bet you could do it with the flamethrower too. But
Actually, the shotgun is the most proficient thing that works against him.
yeah,
so-
I mean getting through the webbing on the door. Because I've seen... Because...
Yes, you can use an explosive round
Yeah.
to do it, or not an explosive, an incendiary round
Yeah.
to do it.
Not that you have any, but I know because the speedrun I watched, which was with Jill, he just blasted through the door and just left.
Yeah,
didn't bother
that's why
fighting the
that's why
spider
they
mob.
provide you with the knife. Is so like if you don't have that, you can still cut through it. But yeah, I can technically use the flamethrower on the door. It was worthless on the spider.
Yeah.
Because the spider, for some reason, the shotgun would hit it, but the flamethrower wouldn't. I'm gonna melt the door. Or another one that actually irritated me was, and again, I'm not going to name names, but this friend knows what he did. And I actually got to a point where I wouldn't let him borrow DVDs anymore, because I came over and I came over one time. We used to work together. And I saw this big pile of DVDs just out in the open, upside down, so that the part you don't want scratched is open and exposed. And he was using it as a damn coaster.
Really?
Uh-huh. So he had a can of pop on there, and he like, when I called him on it, he claimed it was empty. I was like, no, there's stuff in here. And it was right next to where, like, his computer was. So I'm like, yeah, you use this as a freaking coaster. And the first thing on top of that pile was the DVD I let him borrow. So I was like, thanks. Appreciate it, dude. He wondered why I never let him borrow anything ever again.
See, I had a friend of mine that he bought his fair share of anime too, but the first thing he'd always do when he got a new anime on DVD is he would burn a copy, and he would just put the main discs in his closet and pretty much never touch them again. And he would only ever use the copies he made. And if he wanted to lend them out, he would just make new copies.
So he would just burn
So
them up.
he was reproducing copies and just lending them out there. Did he ever pay attention when the VHS had that FBI warning?
Nobody cares about that.
They should. It actually is a federal offense.
But yeah, it's a federal offense, but nobody. But again, no.
I mean, if he was using them himself, then that's fine.
For the most part,
that's
and yes.
completely allowed.
Well, yes, he was doing that too.
But when the friend came over and borrowed, he should have just given them the main disc.
Yeah, because you don't want to be like.
No, because he gave me copies.
I mean, as long as if you're gonna do it, as long it doesn't leave your own house.
Yeah. Or if you do make a copy, it's only one that you use.
Yeah.
Like that's the clarification of that law.
Yeah, because the MPAA is paranoid douchebags.
Well, yes, but I mean, at the same time, would you want people actually buying your movie if you made it?
Yeah, but at the
Yeah,
same.
if they're reproducing copies, they're not buying it.
Yeah, but it's not like we kept the copies. It's like we.
Did
always-
you?
No.
Okay, well, you didn't. What about the other friends that came and borrowed?
I'm sure they also returned them.
Well, good for them. There are going to be people out in the world, I hate to tell you this, that didn't.
Yeah, but those are the people who are gonna pirate anyway. So
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that's the people that I officially pissed off when I went after, Nostalrius and all that. Which I'm still getting crap for, and I don't understand why, but okay. I'm trying to think of other things that were done. Like, that was the biggest thing that actually annoyed me was, because controllers are expensive, guys. Like, if you've ever tried to buy a controller, especially when I would say PS2 on era, that's where we got a solid $60 to $70 price tag for brand new controllers.
oh yeah,
Okay.
they're expensive.
And before people start screaming in the comments below, you just go third party. I've bought my fair share of third-party controllers, enough so that I absolutely hate them now. Mainly because I don't think there's a brand out there that does any hard work on them whatsoever. Okay, all the ones that I did buy third party with are now long gone, and the only reason I bought them was because they were just as good a quality as what you would get from Nintendo, what you would get from Sega. Those don't exist anymore. Now we have, or at the time we had Interact, which I'm sorry, they can't build a controller to save their lives. So you'd be buying the brand controller, and the brand controller was like $60. Because they knew how they knew how much it actually took to make those things, and then your friend busts it. It's like, oh well, that's $60 out of my own pocket. Are you gonna pay me back for that? I'm a little short. Can you give me an IOU? No.
Will you take the
Friend who knows who I'm talking about, I love you, but there's a reason I never let you borrow controllers after a while. Especially when they got PS3 and they were wireless. I was like, nope. Because now there's even more reason for these things to be $65, $70. And I want them to last as long as possible. Or even better, people asking to borrow your consoles and then they come back, they're horribly messed up.
Geez, if you want to lend something out, you want to have something that you can take
is
in
why you get
exchange.
copies.
That's just,
Well, you can't copy a console.
That's true. You can't. If you could, well, then you're a freaking amazing technological wizard who can make Nintoasters.
I never actually knew what happened here, but I remember our family lent out our first ever Super Nintendo. The one that like my brother had worked. Yeah, by the way, Magic Cut, because we're taking out the errands. We had lent it out. This is the first, like, the release version of the Super Nintendo, where my brother had literally been working mowing lawns all summer to be able to afford it. So, like, he was getting paid, $20-$30 per lawn he was mowing. And he finally afforded it, plus 2 other games for it, which he used that money later. We let a neighbor borrow it, and we literally came back with a section of the thing missing.
Oh, wow.
Not like a section of the console, but like a section of the plastic had very clearly, because it looked like it, been burned off.
Wow.
So like you could tell the telltale melting marks and stuff like that. I'm like, what were you doing that involved fire around the Super Nintendo? I never found out.
Never found out.
I was the young kid in the family, so like I never found out what actually happened, and I tried to ask my older brother, like, I don't know, maybe 10 years later. He's like, I don't remember actually.
Darn, I want to know what the heck was going on.
All I know is that neighbor didn't borrow anything from us ever again, and I have a feeling it was because I do know the parents got involved, and that's when you know things are not good.
Yeah.
Is the parents got involved in the borrowing situation.
They borrowed the Super Nintendo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they borrowed it for like a couple of weeks, and then it came back, and there was a section of the plastic covering that was gone.
Oh,
and it looked like it had been melted off.
Wow.
So first of all, I mean, that begs the question, like, what did they do to take that section off? And what were they doing that involved heat or fire or something like that? Like, did you park it right next to the microwave? I don't know. And
You'd have to put it in said microwave.
well, but like, I'm sitting there going, okay, maybe they, you know, like, as a kid, you're trying to figure it out. Maybe they aimed a magnifying glass. No, that wouldn't be enough. Did they actually light a firecracker right next to it? That might have been enough.
Maybe. Well, the section was taken off. Maybe a soldering iron.
How did the kid get access to a soldering iron? Oh, wait, their dad, probably.
Yeah. Just go
You've
to
actually answered this for me.
go any garage and just go get your dad's tools.
Yeah, exactly. Especially since it was a neighbor boy, and around that time was like when wood shop and metal shop were a thing. Yeah, I never got that answer. I would love to know what happened, but I think the parties involved are too old to be able to tell me. So there you go, people. That's what can happen if you let people borrow your consoles.
That's why you get a deposit on it.
I'll tell you this much: I would never let that neighbor of mine, James Rolfe, ever borrow my consoles, especially the ones he considers bad. They come back all blown up. I let you borrow my 32X. Why is there an arrow in it?
How come they borrowed the
Why'd you
Super
use your...
Nintendo?
Because we were the only ones in the neighborhood that had one at the time.
Oh.
Yeah. Why else would you think they'd borrow a Super Nintendo?
Well,
they don't have one.
I mean, like, nothing against our neighbors, but my older brother was the only one that actually thought far enough ahead to say, like, well, I do want this. I've played enough of it in stores and all that he went off and mowed lawns to be able to earn the money. Whereas all the other neighbor kids were like, Mom, Dad, could you get this for me? And you know, you've seen the AVGN segment where it's like, well, what's the difference between this and your Nintendo? This one's 16-bit. What's that? You know?
I don't know.
And that was the argument that you had to answer, and nobody was giving any good answers to that argument.
Especially considering it wasn't backwards compatible.
Yeah, it wasn't backwards compatible. I mean, that and, like, my dad was probably the only adult in the neighborhood that would have actually gotten the difference. Because he could have said, well, technically, you know, this actually runs on a better processor. And then he could have explained it to people, but, well, my dad was off being a vice president of a company, so he didn't care.
Not like anyone would understand it.
Yeah, exactly. You know, at that point, people would have to understand his techno jargon. And I don't know if they'd be willing to do that.
In the early 90s, computers were still an enigma to people.
Yes, they were.
We still thought this internet was invented by this man named Bill Gates.
Well, we were also the weird oddities in the neighborhood because we actually had a home PC.
Yeah, we did too.
Did you have two?
No, probably not.
Yeah, we had two because, again, my dad was the vice president of a company, so
So
he
you were
was
rich.
not quite.
Do you remember back
It was the equivalent of a small business kind of
Right.
thing. But the reason that he got that was when they had to upgrade his PC, they just give him a brand new PC. Because around that time, it was cheaper to do that. Not these days, where Dell will charge you through the nose. But they would give him a new PC, and they'd just be like, well, what do we do with this other PC? Take it home. We don't care. And that's what would happen. And I think another one was deliberately given to him because they wanted him to work. Like, if he had to work from home, he needed to have a PC that could do it.
Well, do you remember back in the day when we had a DOS computer, Alex?
Not really. I don't remember. The closest experience I got to DOS was running DOS emulation.
DOS, that was the day. It really was. But we've run out of time this week, so when we get back, we will continue on in the tunnels, but also we'll talk about apparently how rich Drak was compared to Shadow.